Again, when I look at my growth, I would like to celebrate the annual growth of 19%. I would like to celebrate organic and inorganic of 6.4%. But in terms of degrowth in the organic, I would believe it is a few factors. Number one, to me, is that some of the industries and some of the markets we are in, for example, I mean, oil and gas was like sudden, sharp, almost like a shutdown. I mean, it is like, we want to negotiate this contract today. Can you abandon it? Can you postpone it? I mean, surely there is an impact in this 1.2. Similarly, some of the sectors are reprioritizing the way their market positioning is.
Some client-specific issues in the telecom sector, because telecom is more than 50% of your total revenues. That's what is bothering the numbers more than anything else.
Again, I would not like to say is that because none of, and I'm sure you guys do enough research on telecom business, that telecom business per se is re-strategizing, is investing more for 4G. It's the same situation whether in India or in China. I mean, that is why the iPhone sales or the Samsung phone sales are still the most robust. I mean, if you want to look at other economic indicators, it is not that the telecom industry is buying less.
Yes.
I think they are reprioritizing some of their spends. And personally, I remain not only confident, but I would say is that very, very positive about the overall telecom sector.
Right. So, Mr. Nayyar, tell us about some of the milestones that you have for the current financial year. Is the weakness in some of the companies and your clients, in particular in telecom, that we have seen some energy sector weakness also, is that going to percolate down to Q1, Q2? When do you see some let up in those, and how are you seeing FY16 compared to what we have seen so far?
Look, it is almost impossible to predict, especially these days, how global economies will work, because it depends on multitude of factors. Having said that, I think we should not take one quarter shutdown or letdown as an indicator of either IT sector having inherent weaknesses or the global economy going downwards in a spin. The fact is that we still made growth of 20% or close to 20%. That is high by any measures. So if we look at the year, I don't see why the next year would be any different. True, there was a certain blip in the fourth quarter. That's for a comedy of reasons which we have already explained, namely wage hike, erosion in the value of euro, erosion in the value of Australian dollar. So multiple things came to cause this blip. This will level out, I suspect, as we go forward. And I remain as optimistic today as I was earlier about the relevance of IT sector and the magnitude of the business which it encompasses and the capability of Indian IT companies to measure up to the rapidly changing demand in this area.
Give us a breakup of the 500 basis points dip that your margins have taken, and how much on account of LCC, and is there a let up in sight in this financial year?
So, I guess this financial year has definitely come to an end, and as I said, measure us on the annual basis. And so 500 basis points, I think it has all been part of calculations. Just think of it, 200 basis points on wages. I mean, it can't be a surprise.
Right. 140 basis points on LCC.
Right. So about 130, 140 basis points on acquisitions. I mean, when you buy a company at 5% EBITDA or a 6-7% EBITDA, calculating a weighted average can't be a surprise. Now, similarly, I mean, currency headwinds. I mean, our business is 50%, America and 50% rest of the world. And it impacts everywhere, whether it's the Brazilian real or a Australian dollar or a Canadian dollar. I mean, there is an impact in every currency.
Of course.
Right? So that again is an impact of about 100 basis points. Then similarly, when my organic growth doesn't happen, it has to translate into somewhere in SG&A.
Yes.
Right? So, yes, we know what the 500 basis points are. Now, in terms of FY16, as I said during the earlier conversations, my focus is on consolidation. And if it takes me a quarter or two to bring in a rhythm, bring in a, because ultimately otherwise I'm dealing with many offices,
So how much time are you giving for the margins to come at comfortable levels from the acquisitions you made?
I think on acquisitions it will take me almost a year plus, but my rest of the operating levers for the other parts of the business, I think, that whether it is in my utilization, whether it's in my on-site offshore mixes, I think the results should come in, 1 or 2 quarters.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.